I never imagined that one ordinary evening could completely flip my world upside down. I was just lounging on the couch, scrolling mindlessly through my phone, when she walked in, that mischievous glint in her eyes that always meant trouble. "Babe," she said, holding a small box, "I have a surprise for you." I laughed nervously. Surprises from her usually meant anything from a spontaneous date to, well, something slightly embarrassing, like the time she signed us up for that couples yoga class where I nearly dislocated my shoulder. But this was different. She placed the box on the coffee table with a flourish and motioned for me to open it. Inside, neatly folded, were what looked like a delicate lace top and a skirt I couldn't even begin to imagine wearing. I blinked. Honey, what is this?" My voice was a mix of confusion and, honestly, a rising panic. Her grin widened. "It's your new look." I choked on my own laugh, or maybe it was a cough. "My look?" "Yes," she said, sitting beside me, brushing a stray hair from her face. "I've always imagined what my perfect woman would look like. And, well, now you're going to be her." I froze. My mind raced. "You're serious?" "Deadly serious." Before I could protest further, she pulled me gently but firmly toward the bedroom. "Trust me," she whispered. "You're going to love this." And with that, she closed the door behind us. I stood there, staring at the clothes she had carefully laid out on the bed. Lace, silk, satin, materials that felt foreign against my rough, calloused hands. My heart thudded in my chest, a mix of fear and something I couldn't name. "First things first," she said, taking my hand, "we need to start with your hair." Within minutes, my hair was being pulled, twisted, and clipped in ways I never imagined. My wife hummed happily, chatting as she worked, while I felt this surreal, almost dizzying sensation, like I was watching someone else get dressed in my body. And when she applied the first brush of foundation to my face, I couldn't recognize myself. My jaw clenched, my stomach twisted, but beneath the shock, there was an unexpected spark of curiosity. I looked into the mirror. And there she was, my wife's perfect woman. Except it was me. The next morning, my entire routine felt alien. Even brushing my teeth, putting on casual clothes, everything felt different. My reflection in the bathroom mirror was unmistakably feminine. My shoulders narrower, my face softer, my body. I didn't even want to touch it. And yet, when I moved, when I caught a glimpse of my own reflection walking past the mirror, a small, rebellious part of me felt a flutter of excitement. At breakfast, my wife was gleeful. "You look amazing," she exclaimed, passing me a cup of coffee. I mumbled a response, trying to ignore the way my skirt swished as I sat down, trying not to think about the tightness across my chest. I thought I could go to work as usual, but stepping outside made my nerves spike. The way people looked at me. I could feel every stare like 1,000 pinpricks. The way strangers smiled, or whispered, made my cheeks burn. I had to keep adjusting my skirt, my hair, my voice, my everything. At the office, the tension only increased. My co-workers were polite, but their glances lingered just a little too long. New haircut?" one asked. I nodded, muttering a weak yeah. Every movement I made, every word I spoke, was colored by the strange reality of my new appearance. I was constantly aware of my body in ways I had never been before. Even my voice sounded different. Somehow softer, higher, delicate in a way that felt unnatural. Every time I spoke, I winced at the sound, like I was betraying the person I thought I was. By the end of the day, I was exhausted, physically, emotionally, mentally. And yet, I couldn't stop thinking about what my wife had done. That night, curiosity finally got the better of me. After she went to bed, I snuck into our bedroom and stared at the clothes she had chosen for me. One by one, I tried them on in front of the full-length mirror. The lace top clung to my shoulders in a way that was terrifyingly intimate. The skirt hugged my hips perfectly. I ran my hands over the smooth fabric, feeling the cool silk against my skin. And then, almost shyly, I tried a bit of makeup, just a little concealer, some eyeshadow. I hardly recognized myself. My reflection was beautiful. And for the first time since she started this experiment, I felt something I couldn't quite name. Pleasure? Intrigue? A dangerous kind of thrill? I whispered to myself, almost embarrassed, "Is this me?" The answer, I realized, was slowly becoming yes. Over the next few weeks, I began experimenting in secret. My wife was delighted, of course, guiding me, encouraging me, teaching me how to walk, how to sit, how to move like the woman she had envisioned. Every night, I practiced my voice, my posture, my gestures. I discovered that little things, a tilt of the head, the flick of my hair, the curve of a smile, could completely change the way people perceived me. The world responded differently, and I couldn't deny the intoxicating power it gave me. One Friday, I even ventured out on my own to the local mall. At first, I was terrified. Every step made my heart race. But as I navigated through the crowds, hearing compliments and seeing appreciative glances, I realized something. I could exist in this body, in this persona, and people would accept me, or even admire me. It wasn't just the attention, it was the feeling of liberation. For the first time, I felt like I could step outside myself and explore a side of me I didn't know existed. And yet, a part of me was still scared. What if someone recognized me? What if my colleagues, my friends, my family discovered this new side of me before I was ready? The tension reached a breaking point one evening when I returned from a dinner party my wife had insisted I attend in full attire. I was the center of attention, praised for my elegance, my poise, my charm. And then, a voice I never wanted to hear in that context. My boss. "Wow, you look different," she said, staring. "Is this new?" Panic shot through me. My throat tightened, my mind raced. Should I tell her the truth? Should I lie? Should I disappear? Before I could respond, my wife leaned close, her hand brushing mine, whispering, "You can do this. Just be her. Be yourself, fully." And that was the turning point. With a shaky breath, I smiled. "Yes, it's me," I said, allowing the words to taste strange but freeing on my tongue. I was no longer hiding. I was embracing. From that moment, everything changed. The following weeks were transformative in more ways than one. I began to live more fully in this new persona. At work, I carried myself differently, more confident, more assured. Social interactions felt lighter, freer. Even my relationship with my wife deepened, not just because she had guided me into this new self, but because I had finally allowed myself to accept it. Friends who once might have teased me now complimented me. I discovered new hobbies, fashion, makeup, styling, things I never imagined I'd enjoy. Every day was a mix of challenge and exhilaration, fear and pleasure, embarrassment and pride. And the intimacy with my wife, that had evolved into something extraordinary. She no longer just directed my transformation, she celebrated it, admired it, encouraged it. Every compliment, every touch, every smile made me feel more alive, more seen, more authentic than I ever had before. I had discovered a side of myself I didn't know existed, a version of me that was playful, confident, daring, and beautiful. And the best part? I wasn't losing who I was expanding it. Now, looking back, I can hardly believe how far I've come. The man who once laughed nervously at a box of clothes is gone, replaced by someone who stands tall, proud, and undeniably herself. The journey wasn't easy. There were moments of fear, moments of confusion, moments of intense vulnerability, but every step was worth it. I've learned that transformation isn't just about clothes or makeup. It's about courage. It's about trust. It's about letting someone see you, not as you think you should be, but as the most authentic, daring, and radiant version of yourself. And the most beautiful part? I didn't just become my wife's dream woman. I became my own. So if you're out there, scared to explore a side of yourself you've never dared to touch, remember this. Sometimes, the most unexpected journeys lead to the most incredible discoveries. And sometimes, love, real, fearless love, can show you a reflection of yourself that's better than anything you could have imagined. I'm living proof. It started innocently enough. After weeks of dressing at home, practicing my posture, my voice, my every movement in front of the mirror, I began to crave a taste of the outside world. The thought terrified me, stepping out in full feminine attire, fully seen by strangers. My heart would race just imagining the reactions, the stares, the whispers. But underneath that fear was a simmering curiosity I couldn't ignore. One Saturday morning, my wife suggested a little adventure. She handed me a dress, a soft pastel number that flowed around my legs, and a pair of delicate heels. My chest tightened as I held them. "Are you sure I can do this?" I asked, my voice wavering. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "You can. You're ready. Trust me." With a shaky breath, I stepped into the outfit. The dress clung to my shoulders and flowed over my hips. My reflection in the mirror made me gasp. I was beautiful, undeniably so, but every fiber of my being screamed panic. I slipped on the heels, wobbled a little, and caught myself. "You're perfect," she whispered, adjusting my hair and smoothing the dress. "Now, let's go." The world outside the front door felt enormous, brighter, louder. People passed by, oblivious, or so I hoped. Every step on the pavement made my legs ache, not just from the heels, but from the awareness of being seen. Every glance felt magnified, every stare a test. At the cafe we entered, my pulse thundered in my ears. I ordered coffee, my voice trembling slightly, higher and softer than usual. The barista smiled warmly, a simple gesture that made my stomach twist with a strange mix of embarrassment and excitement. My wife took my hand under the table, her fingers warm, grounding me. By the end of the outing, something had shifted inside me. The fear was still there, yes, but it mingled with something exhilarating, a sense of freedom, of agency. I was exploring a side of myself I had never dared to acknowledge, and for the first time, I realized. I enjoyed it. Encouraged, I started venturing out more often, each trip a little bolder than the last. I learned the power of subtlety, how a tilt of the head, a smile, or the way I crossed my legs could change how people perceived me. I noticed the world responding differently. Doors opened, strangers complimented, conversations flowed with ease. One evening, my wife dragged me to a friend's party. My heart pounded as we approached the house. I could hear the laughter, the chatter, the music. Inside, the air was warm, perfumed with candles and perfume. My reflection in the hallway mirror made me freeze. I looked radiant, delicate, undeniably feminine. The night unfolded in a blur of compliments and curious glances. Someone asked if I was a model, another complimented my choice of dress. My pulse raced with a mix of embarrassment and pride. For the first time, I felt that intoxicating thrill of being noticed, being admired, being me, in a form I had never allowed myself to be. But even amid the excitement, fear lingered. I worried about friends, colleagues, anyone who might see me this way and misunderstand. I wrestled with my own mind, balancing the intoxicating rush of empowerment with the gnawing anxiety of exposure. One day, while shopping for accessories, I caught my reflection in a store window. I paused, studying the curve of my jaw, the soft contour of my face, the way the dress hugged my body. My hands reached out almost instinctively, smoothing the fabric, brushing my hair. A woman walking past gave me a warm smile. "You look stunning," she said, and the words hit me like a jolt of electricity. For a moment, I felt seen, truly seen, by someone who had no preconceptions about who I was supposed to be. I realized then that my transformation wasn't just external, it was internal. I was growing into a confidence I had never known, discovering courage I had thought I lacked. Each outing, each compliment, each whispered curiosity from strangers fueled me, helping me shed layers of fear and hesitation. Back at home, my wife would guide me further. She taught me to walk in heels without wobbling, to style my hair with delicate precision, to layer makeup for subtle elegance. Each lesson was intimate, playful, sometimes frustrating, but always revealing new aspects of myself. And then came the day I dared to go to a small social gathering alone. The anticipation made my stomach churn. I dressed meticulously, applied makeup carefully, and practiced my voice and posture for what felt like hours. When I finally stepped outside, I was shaking, but there was no turning back. The night was electric. I laughed, I danced, I spoke confidently. I watched the reactions of others, their curiosity, their admiration. I felt a thrill I had never experienced before, an intoxicating mix of fear and liberation. For the first time, I wasn't hiding, wasn't performing, I was existing fully in this persona, and it felt exhilarating. By the end of the night, I realized I was no longer just exploring. I was transforming, not just in appearance, but in spirit. Every step I took, every glance, every laugh, every whispered compliment reinforced a new sense of self. I was no longer bound by old fears. I was discovering joy in self-expression. But transformation comes with confrontation. One evening, as I returned home from an outing, I ran into a neighbor I hadn't expected to see. "Wow, you look different," she said, tilting her head, a curious sparkle in her eyes. My pulse spiked, panic threatening to overtake me. Before I could stammer an excuse, my wife's hand slipped into mine. "It's okay," she said softly. "Just be her. Be you." And in that moment, I realized something profound. I didn't have to hide. I didn't have to fear judgment. I could embrace this new self, and anyone who mattered would accept me, or I would simply leave those who didn't behind. Over time, I began to navigate the world fully in this persona. Work, social events, family gatherings, I approached each scenario with a mix of courage, curiosity, and playfulness. I discovered strength I hadn't known I possessed, a subtle power in how I carried myself, how I interacted, how I commanded attention without demanding it. And most importantly, I learned to love the reflection staring back at me, soft, elegant, confident, radiant. I wasn't just my wife's dream woman, I was my own.